All right, good morning, algebra. We're going to go over notes 40, which is factoring trinomials. And I'm going to write a trinomial in a form that we're going to see a lot, just so you have some reference. So I'm going to write ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay? Where if we look at these letters right here, a is the number in front of x squared, b is always the number in front of x, and c is always the number at the end. So when we talk about factoring something like this, it's a little bit different. It's not taking out the greatest common factor, although factors are a part of this. So I'm going to kind of walk through the steps and just know that like this may take you a little bit and a little bit of practice to understand. But we'll see how it's going during the week. I know I said we've got a quiz Thursday, but there's a chance maybe we'll do another practice on, Wednesday or Thursday versus a quiz. So we'll kind of figure that out as we go. All right. So step one to factor these is to make, if I could spell myself, let's see, is to make a large X like this. All right. And now we're going to fill in the numbers that go into that X. So up top, it's always the A times the C. Okay. So if we look here, right, we have A in front of here. Right here, it's 1, and C is 6. So in this case, it's going to be a 6. So I'll write it down below so you can kind of see how it works with this problem. All right, and this will be our example of what to do. So this is 6, like I said. Okay, and that always goes up top. All right, and then step 2, so you're going to fill in, the step 2 is to fill in the X using the diagram. Okay, so down here is going to go ahead and that's going to be the B. All right, so that's going to be a B. So in our example right here, B is the number in front of X, which happens to be 5X. So I'm going to put a 5 right there. All right, so far so good. Now, this part's a little bit trickier because you got to do some more figuring. But step 3 is going to be to find the factors of the top that add to the bottom. So I was trying to think of a better way to word that. I can't think of one. But basically in factors, if you remember, factors are things that multiply, right? So that's why I gave you these handy dandy factor sheets that you're going to be able to use. So we've got 2 of them. One looks like this, one looks like this. I would suggest using this one because what's nice about this factor sheet is it puts things into pairs. So you can see how they add together pretty easily. So what I'm going to look at right here is I'm going to look at 6 because that's the number that's up top that we're multiplying, right? So I have 2 factor options for 6. And in this case, they have to add to 5. And the reason they add is if you look back here, this is a positive and this is a positive, which means this and this are both going to be positive. So if we come here, we look, we've got 1 and a 6. So 1 plus 6 is 7. So that's not going to work. But 2 plus 3 is 5. So that's going to check off that's actually going to work for us. We're going to come back here. I'm going to put a 3 here and a 2 here. All right. And now what we're going to do is we're going to drop those into a set of parentheses. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. So step 4, put factors on sides in parentheses. All right, and maybe I should highlight, I'll do that. I'll highlight this in blue so you can kind of see what goes with what. All right, and we'll do this one. And we'll do this bottom. Actually, I'll undo that real quick. Sorry, I'm just talking to myself like I normally do in class. We're going to do that in red because that's the color we were using before. All right. So let me show you what that answer looks like. So I'm kind of running out of room. So I'm going to put the answer right down here. So that would be make a parenthesis, and this is always going to be true. You have an x and an x, and then we'll do plus 3 plus 2. So that's where I say put factors on sides in the parentheses. That's what I'm talking about right here. Okay, so for these problems, if it's just an x squared, it always is an x and an x. All right, and then these are the factors that were here. So let's try another example, and maybe I'll be able to be a little bit more clear. I know there's a lot of information in these two problems, so let's try another one. All right, so I'm going to follow my steps. So step 1 is to make an x, so I'm going to do that. All right, and then I'm going to put a times c up top, which if I look, that's a 1 and a -8. So that means that -8 goes up top. All right, and then I put my middle term, or the b, on the bottom, which is -2. All right, so this is where it gets a little tricky because, I'm going to go back and change this a little bit. That add or subtract, because they can add or subtract to the bottom term, okay? Because if you notice, I have a negative number right here. So that means that one of my factors has to be negative. So I'm going to go over to my factor chart. I'm going to find 8, which is right here. All right, and I'm going to look and figure out. So if there's a negative and a negative, then I got to subtract. So that's 8 minus 7 is, or 8 minus 1 is 7, so that doesn't work. And 4 minus 2 is 2. That does work because that's what I've got over here. All right. So I'm going to have a 4, a 4, and a 2. And now I'm going to put down, a hint that you're going to have to use. The bigger factor, or the bigger factor sign, has to match the bottom. Not the boot, the bottom. Okay, so if I look right here, that's a negative number, so I have a 2 and a 4. The 4 is the bigger number, so that means the sign on the 4 has to be negative. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is in my parentheses, and for all these problems, you're going to have these parentheses, right? This is going to be the format of your answer for all of these. 2 parentheses, and x goes here, and x goes here, and then we fill in the numbers that we have. So I have a -4 and a +2. And that is my answer. So I know that's a quick set of notes and short, and I'm sure there's quite a few questions. So go ahead and try the assignment that I have, and please email me with questions if you have them. I'll try to set up a Google Hangout again like we did last week for later this week for those of you who need questions answered and such. So I hope you all are well, and talk soon.